What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to TTB Ravens Media, bringing you Ravens content every single day. If you want to stay up to date with Ravens content, make sure to hit the subscribe button down below and turn the notification bell on to get notified every single time I upload a brand new video, especially for this series, the top 10 greatest Ravens of all time series. Not just players, but including personnel. Anybody associated with the Ravens, they're eligible to make this team or the list. Now, in this video, let me know your thoughts and opinions on this person for making the list. Let me know who you think should be number 2. Check out the playlist that has all of the other top 10 players on the list, because you're probably going to be pretty interested to see how we got to where we are right now at number 3, because the third greatest Raven in Baltimore Raven history is Ozzie Newsome. Ozzie Newsome is the first person on this list that is not a player, and I think many fans would agree with me putting him here on this list because of what he's done for the Ravens. I mean, he was the GM when the Ravens came over. He became the first African-American GM in the history of the NFL, which is great in its own right. But not only was he, the first, but he's maybe the best GM the NFL's ever seen. Like, he's up there in the greatest general managers of all time, period. And you look at how he started to how he ended. If you've seen the list so far, everybody on this list, Ozzie Newsome brought to Baltimore. Every single player. Every single player. Ozzie Newsome's last, hurrah was drafting Lamar Jackson. His first hurrah was drafting Jonathan Ogden. And then he drafted some guy named Ray Lewis. Like, what he was able to do was Ozzie Newsome created a culture. Ozzie Newsome was able to create a strategy and methodology that works, okay? I feel like if y'all have seen The Rock in SNL's video, he does an SNL sketch about some testosterone cream, and he's basically just keeps saying, he's just like, it works. But the Ravens way, that was created by Ozzie Newsome. What is it? The Ravens way is basically to, 1, defense. That's what you focus on. You focus on the defense because defense wins championships. You don't want to overpay players. You're going to allow players to leave the Ravens. You're going to allow players to leave your team because sometimes it's not worth the cap hit. Ozzie Newsome started to do that. The comp picks. Whether or not you agree with the Ozzie Newsome comp pick, ideology that Eric DeCosta, Ozzie's protege, has followed through with, even though Eric DeCosta's been a little bit riskier, but Ozzie Newsome was like, no, we want comp picks. The draft is essential. That's how you want to build your team. Ozzie Newsome was not known for getting big-time free agents. That's not what he was trying to do. He was going to win through the draft. And you look at the players that he drafted a lot of great ones. Even players that didn't make this list. Guys like C.J. Mosley came in and just dominated because that's what Ozzie was able to do. He knew how to draft defense. And when he drafted defense and when he drafted those players, he knew that sometimes you got to let him go. Adalius Thomas was a good player for Baltimore. Let him go. Didn't do much in New England. But overall, Ozzie Newsome understood that getting veterans and getting young assets is better than going for, hey, let's pay this guy in his prime. Back then, it would be like $15 million. Now it would be about $25 million. Pay him this amount of money to be able to come in and step in at 20, 27, 28 years old. Instead, he was like, all right, you're 32. You can come in. For example, Elvis Dumervil. He was like, hey, yeah, the Broncos don't really want you anymore. We'll take you, Elvis. Comes in, dominates as a veteran. And then also, Ozzie would focus on the young rookies, and he would draft players. And when he drafted them, he wanted to actually give them an opportunity. He wasn't one of those people that drafted players and was like, no, you got to just not do anything. No, he drafted guys and were like, no, let's give them the opportunity. For example, Lamar. Hey, let's roll with Lamar. And obviously, that's partially John Harbaugh's decision. That's partially, the coaching staff decision. But come on, Ozzie hired the coaches. Well, he hired the head coach, and then the head coach hires everybody else. But you know what I mean. Ozzie was the one that brought in John Harbaugh. Took a chance on John Harbaugh. John Harbaugh was a special teams coach. Special teams is not the most popular route to get to becoming a head coach in the NFL. But Ozzie was like, no. Let's give this guy a shot. He's going to be a culture builder. He's going to be able to come in and be paired with guys like Ray Lewis, who are already great for the culture. And he's going to be able to help build his own thing and build up, the Ravens way and things like that. And he brings in John Harbaugh. And John Harbaugh, not only do the Ravens have always had a great special teams and things like that because of John Harbaugh, but he was able to build that culture like Ozzie Newsome wanted. And Ozzie Newsome has made some great – Ozzie Newsome isn't perfect. He's made some poor draft decisions, for example, Rashad Perryman. But overall, I think many people would agree that Ozzie Newsome was very good in the draft. And he knew how to draft, and he knew how to not waste talent and waste opportunities. He wanted to acquire as many opportunities as possible for the draft through the comp picks and things like that. And he didn't want to fail. He wanted the Ravens to be relevant every year, and they pretty much were under him. There were some unfortunate years where there were injuries and things like that, but almost every year under Ozzie's management, the Ravens were good. And Ozzie Newsome is one of the greatest general managers of all time. He's still in the Ravens organization. I can't remember his exact title. It's like the vice president or something like that. He's still there, but Eric DeCosta is now the general manager. Eric DeCosta is doing a great job because of Ozzie. Look at all the teams. For example, the Chargers. They do not have a good general manager. They struggle. They have a great roster, but they can't get the right coaches. They can't really, create the culture. They just can't do that because they didn't have a guy like Ozzie Newsome. And Ozzie Newsome is that type of guy. One of the greatest, honestly, he's one of the greatest football players of all time, and he's one of the greatest general managers of all time. He's a Hall of Fame tight end. But Ozzie Newsome, the third greatest Raven of all time. Let me know if you think that's fair. He could be higher. I could put him as high as number 2. I wouldn't put him number 1. I'd put him as high as number 2. But let me know who you think should be number 2. Thank you, everybody, for watching. Subscribe for daily Ravens content. Subscribe for this series. And I will see all of you again tomorrow with the second greatest player of all time for the Ravens.